name. So,
may I ask one question? How do you choose this name? I think it's going to be better exchange, or better is what's the meaning?
Be the change. Or what do you mean, the name?
Okay, I see. Go ahead.
Be the change is actually, it was back then kind of like a thing I just did because I wanted to actually encourage people to make a difference by sharing knowledge. That's why Be the Change hit in, and this is pretty much under the thing what we are doing. But in the end, it's really about how can we make a positive impact and how can we generate something that is bringing a positive value to a lot of people by using technology in a broader scope. Because okay. I mean, I can pretty much start off now with that. So let me just have this keyboard setting now. Because everything what we are doing right now is literally targeted around how can we make a positive impact. I mean, we have the news full of disastrous stories. Everything is pretty much focusing on making things worse, I would say. But there's a lot of potential out there. And I recently had even the possibility to talk with Richard Branson about this issue, that we are not focusing on solutions. We are literally focusing on having technology out there which is not solving problems. We need to focus more on the solutions, and that's why it's really about how can we overcome uncertainty, how can we overcome fear, and how can we overcome panic, and what is the role of technology and what is the role of solutions in this whole game of doing that. And we have to look at the whole world when we are doing it, and it's pretty much a broader scope, because I think systems thinking is hopefully one of the words I'm going to throw in. Everybody is somehow familiar with. It's really the thinking of bigger scopes and bigger problems, and really thinking about the competitiveness about all the solutions. And technology can also have an impact on many different fields. It's, for example, also social equality. It can have an impact on environment. It can have an impact on the way we are doing globalization, but also on the resources, what we are doing. And I guess this is what we also have to see when we are looking at solutions, because I've been now, since I'm 13 years old, I have been into technology. And for me, it was always very unsure why we are doing things, because most of the times I literally feel that we are just using technology for the sake of using technology, and not for the sake of doing something greater or making something possible that was not possible before. And so we are coming to some facts that actually the society is having big difficulties. I mean, we are seeing that right now, that the society is breaking apart into different in-group and out-group things, that people literally can only participate when there's something happening on a broader scale. We also have the possibility to change something, but it's also very hard to do that. And I guess we are all here. We are at the edge of moving things. We are all entrepreneurs. We are all thinkers, doers, and movers. And I guess we also have to see a new world coming into play. How can we use the technology in a way that we have never thought of? And how can we create a holistic solution? How can we think of holistic change management and also use technology for greater good? But there is always a but. In every discussion, there's a but. And I guess each and one of you has this but in his face when I'm talking about that. Technology will never save us alone. And this is really the problem I have currently. That's why it was really interesting to have Richard Branson's thought on that too, because I always felt that this is kind of like a bigger problem what we need to solve, that everybody is waiting for the sirens of technology. Technology is what we have, and technology will serve us. It's about the environment. Technology is always there to save our asses, but to be honest, it's not going to do that. I have been so many years in change management and digital transformation, and you know what? It was never technology. It was never ever technology. We're speaking about some different problems what we are having. We are having problems about the basics of understanding that 90% of people don't understand what we tech people are doing actually. Technology will also not save anyone if nobody uses it. And technology also has the power to change things, but without turning it on, it will never change anything. And I guess that is one of the things that we have to start with in a big way, to really think, how can we take a leap forward? How can we make solutions that are really impacting masses and having a holistic view on that? So, I mean, I choose this picture here because it really outlines where we could be heading. And of course, technology will be a first step, because without this, we won't be possible to do anything today. I mean, we love our cars, we love our smartphones, we love whatever what we have around technology. We have to appreciate it. That is for sure there. And that's why I'm really happy to also speak today here about this topic, because I have so many bright minds here that actually they're able to move something. But we also have to factor in that we need to educate people with skills. We have to give them the right skill to use this hammer of technology to actually make things work. And I guess when we are looking deeper into the skills section, we also figure out that there is a broad variety of skills there. I mean, we are connecting each other, we are going out there, we are having a lot of different skill sets, and the variety of skills we need to have is just tremendously growing each and every day. I mean, just look back at marketing, like 5-10 years ago, marketing was kind of like a single man's job, and it was offline and online. And today you need some influencer management, you need this, and you need TikTok, and you need Instagram, and whatever, you name that. So we really need to upskill a lot of people to actually make it possible for them to use that. Because I still have the feeling, and I guess a lot of these people in here also have this feeling, that we are talking from 1% to the other 1%, and this percentage is getting smaller and smaller, because we're getting into so much focus for all these technology topics that we are never really sure that everybody is capable of doing that. And also, one of the basics we never have to underestimate is knowledge. We need knowledge to change things, and this is not just the knowledge we have; it's also the knowledge the others have. And when we don't break it, I mean, just before I've heard something about content. There is a lot of content out there, but it's not necessarily knowledge. We are speaking about way different things when we're talking about knowledge. It's how to apply things. It's applying skills. It's applying your ideas, and then it's going further. And all these, in the end, combine to another solution. Because what we are seeing here is kind of like the basis what we have to lie to really make a difference. And Corona put us now on a big play table to actually think about solutions. And I guess we have to move away from simply talking about technology and features and whatever. I call that feature fucking because it just sounds so nice. But in the end, it's really interesting to see that we normally lack solutions, holistic solutions, solutions built on a broad variety of ideas, and we lack of solutions that are actually incorporated into different worlds. Because what I see is really that society needs a solution as a whole. We need to see society as one big building, but in the end, also politics plays a big role. Without politics, we can never change a system because we are so stuck in there. I mean, we've just heard about blockchain. It's just a perfect example that a technology is being forced into a different niche because politics is not following the solutions, while we could potentially have other applications for that. And of course, we also need to redefine how economy is working, because there is the problem that there is no change without an incentive. And we have to factor it in, because change will never happen when we're just looking at taking away things and giving people less chances. We actually have to give them more. We have to give them more chances. We have to include them. So it's very important for us to actually think about solutions that also are economically important. So I'm not speaking about philanthropy or some NPO stuff or whatever. It's really about how can we make a positive impact. It's the social entrepreneurship model, pretty much, what needs to be playing a role, because otherwise we won't tackle the problems. And of course, you can never miss that today, because we see in the world breaking apart. There is no economy, there is no science, there is no whatever that can save our, sorry for my language, asses out there, if we are not having a planet which is worth to live on. That's why we also have to think outside of the box to actually think about holistic solutions. How can we protect an environment? And I guess that's also a thing we need to use with technology, but technology is also a big problem there. I mean, when you see about the servers of the world, how much energy they produce, how much carbon dioxide they're exhaling each and every day just because we are doing our tweets and having our bitcoins and whatever. So this is all a problem we have to factor in. We typically tend to have the old business model in there. Only economics is important, and we really have to focus on this economics. But I guess we are in the stage to really use technology for greater good, to actually see there is economics, but there is also responsibility, and we have the technology to actually make things happen. And last but not least, it's also about science. Technology has always been about science. We have to support that, but we have to incorporate that. It's another silo which is there. And to be honest, there are so many people around who never ever thought that science might be helpful for them. But in the end, it's helpful. And we have to incorporate this in a whole world of change and transformation in the end. The transformation, what we are doing, is really based on the fact that we also need to change things how they were. And science is a great door opener to think outside the box and to open new worlds. But that is the sad truth for all people here from digital and whatever fields. It's totally not about technology. Most of the work needs to be done on the transformational part, on the offline part, let's say. So it's really about changing things. It's about educating people. It's about creating holistic solutions. It's about thinking about solutions, actually. So that's my holy credo, literally the 5% digital and the 95% transformation. That's why it's so important to actually remember that we are in a field that is technology driven. We are all tech entrepreneurs. We are all pushing forward to the edge of technologies. We are all trying to make an impact. But in the end, without getting them the skill to do something, we're going to have a big problem. And I'm going to go a bit deeper in that 5% and 95%, because that's a key aspect to changing things. Because I did some publications on change management and digital transformation, and I really figured out that most of the change initiatives, or most of the adaptation problems to new processes, to new technologies, but also to new thinking worlds, I would call it, is not happening because people were not prepared. I mean, we all love to talk about these features, about technology. We all love to talk about how great technology is, but in the end, we all forget that it's actually about the people that we have to take care of. Because if people don't understand what we are talking about, if people don't understand what digitalization is, then we can have the brightest ideas, but we can never set foot to actually make a difference and make a change. And this is very well known, for example, for people who are working very, very closely to HR, that actually HR is never solving problems with technology, but it's not so much known in the technology world. And that's also the credo why we have to think about global solutions in a different way. And I guess when we are talking about technology to save, I don't know, carbon dioxide emissions, we also have to think about the usability. It's still Homo sapiens, and Homo sapiens doesn't want change. He doesn't want to change things because they were as they were and they should be as they be. And I think that is a big problem we see from many different sides when we're coming to change management and also technology transformation. I mean, all the suppliers out there, all the techno geeks out there, they're having the same problems. People don't want to adapt, and we have to help them. And I guess this transformational part is also an incentivization part. How can we make it better good, and how can we not restrict some stuff For example, Richard Branson told me we could incentivize people using renewable fuel by just making it mandatory. So we can push forward and still say, you can fly to holidays, you can do whatever you want, just go forward, we take care of the rest. And I guess this thinking has to be figured in, that we are literally focusing on the transformational part. How can we incentivize people and still give them more, not less of the same? How can we give them so much that they're actually saying, okay, that's great. I can support the renewable fuel, so I can still fly on holidays. I don't have to worry about anything. It costs a bit more, but that's okay. And I guess this is something that we have to really look at. And I guess when we are going back to the whole supply chain, we find so many things that we could actually change. And I guess it's also about us tech entrepreneurs to think about, is my solution providing on all these different factors, from society to science to economics to politics to you name it, how do we make an impact on that? And I guess we can really, if we put together our thoughts, we can move with the 5% of the digital side, a lot of the 95% on the transformation side. And it is a hard and a tough piece, to be honest. And we're really thinking about a lot, how can you make a social move on a broader scale? And in the end, it's a simple credo you have to have: get it done. And that is one of the simplest things. But in the end, you can say it easily, but it's hard to do. And when we are speaking about changing global systems and changing global variables, it's really tough to figure out what is actually working, how is it working, which stakeholders are involved, how can you actually make this change happen, and how to actually give everybody a place who needs to have a place in your change plan. And I guess when we are speaking here with so many bright-minded people, we are really in a position to say, yes, we can do something, we can change something. And there is a simple and maybe not so simple transformation formula. It's about how can we change things. And I guess it's also very interesting for some entrepreneurs to look at this and just think, okay, is my solution actually fulfilling that? Because every solution that fulfills this transformation is also something that is happening on a broader scale and is reconnecting with all the people, like your customers or your stakeholders. So what is the dissatisfaction your customers have? What is the aspiration you can give? What is the better future there is out there? What you can give them? Also, the first actions clarified. How can we take the first steps into a better solution, into a better experience, into a better world, let's say it this way? And how strong is the belief that people think, just do it? I mean, we have seen a great example on Corona now, where a lot of companies were like, no, home office is not good, not good. Suddenly Corona pops in and it was like, oh, home office, great. And it's just because they had the belief, just do it. They needed to do it. They didn't have any other chance than to do it. And also, when you're having a full cycle of whole system transformation, you also need to have an engagement plan. How do you plan to engage your stakeholders? And it's very important to actually figure out what stakeholders you have. How can you approach them? What is their need? What is their dissatisfaction? Whatever. So in the end, you really need to see in complex systems, what are you changing and how are you changing it? And I guess technology will help us big steps to figure out all these things. We can better understand humans. We can better understand the complex connections and complex systems. We can also clarify it way better what we want to do and how to actually make things work. And I guess we have never been nearer in history to actually make a big leap forward using technology than just using technology for our own goods. We can literally say we can use technology for the better of all. And I guess this is the basic principle I wanted to give in here, and also as a food for thought to really how can we use technology to think a meta level above, to think bigger, and also to make it happen that we are putting a lot of effort into solutions that are bringing greater good. So I hope there is also a question there, and some people have like 1 minute for questions, right?
Yes, we have 1 minute for question, but unfortunately there is no question. Now I got what does it mean. The change has to be, and it should be now. Yes, so thanks, Benjamin. Very interesting topic, very interesting for me personally, I think, and I hope that our viewers now online also get excited. I want to say you a lot of thanks and say you goodbye. Our next speaker, Jay,